K Dreamer Plays.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're looking at 1140, 1230 and 1240 clears, and I will continue making some adventure boss guides, so stay tuned for them. But we'll do this step by step, okay? So team here I'll be using is Evan, Lina, Alice, Yui and Teo. Evan's on defense set. The other three healers are on the HP set. If you don't have Alice, you can actually run Charon here as well, because Charon does have very good healing capabilities. The main point about this particular stage is to sustain yourself, and that's about it, because the slimes, I believe, also heal themselves and they do a little bit more significant damage than usual, so you just need to sustain yourself. If you want to run a more offensive con, I think this is the better version. If you're stronger, then by all means go ahead, use full on offense. So this was the end product, okay, using that particular team with Ace. But hey, a clear is still a clear, even though the whole team died. So first off, start off with Lina's buff and then proceed to use both of Teo's AoE. This will ensure that the damage is good enough to at least kill off or damage significantly. The slimes, the gold slimes do heal. I remember seeing them in Infinite Tower later on, and they actually heal by the thousands. So yeah, at this point this is nothing much, okay? All you need to do is sustain your team, as you can see with the shield, with Evan's shield and a lot of continuous healing. In fact, 3 of these healers all give continuous healing. So even if your gear is not that amazing, which I think most of your gears will be, you can still sustain yourself very well with 3 continuous healing buffs. They all stack together, by the way. So the problem comes when dealing with the slimes. I think this is the most lengthy part of the entire battle, because they take very little damage and you have to kind of like wait for Teo's cooldown, and they also do very heavy single target damage. So at this point, don't worry about keeping Teo's skills for phase 2, because it doesn't make sense to do so because it will take very long. So just use them as they are ready, and then use the rest of the healing skills when necessary. Hopefully, you won't get bonked too heavily. As much as I would like to cut this video, cut the run, I think I will leave in the entire battle. So if you guys would like to fast forward or watch it faster, go ahead and adjust the settings. I think you get the idea of how to deal with this flaw. The more annoying thing is that they actually revive as well, so it really delays the entire run for a very significant amount of time. So when the slime's HPs are low, then this is when you start to perhaps think about keeping Teo's skills for the next phase. Also take note of keeping Lina's buff skill, because that is going to be very important. Don't cast Lina's buff skill too early, especially because it only lasts for 3 turns. So you want to use the buff skill and then immediately use Teo's skill. Do not waste any turn of it. So if you're using Charon, you actually have lesser continuous healing, but you have a much bigger heal amount, instant heal amount. So you have to time that properly. And if you saw just now, just based on my own experience with the Ace team is pretty fragile. Like my Ace died pretty early, so I could only sustain with my healers and Evan. So even my damage will be almost similar to this team, because once Ace is down, you're not going to do as much damage, right? So the thing is, you have to sustain yourself very well, but unfortunately, even with that team, I didn't have the third healer in that case, and I died very quickly, as you saw. My Evan was the only one left from the screenshot earlier. The rest of the team had already melted. Thank goodness Teo was still alive. He wasn't really touched because he was at the back. And this particular video uses a T1 Teo, so hopefully it's more relatable in that sense. If you have a stronger Teo, then definitely this will be much easier for you. Next, we go into 1230, but this will be a very short cut, okay, because 1240 is essentially the same thing. But just in case anyone asks me about 1230 as well, we'll be using the same team. Evan is on the defense set, Lina is on the HP set. Here we are using Lee because Lee is just so freaking OP. Lee is actually on the HP set here. If you want to use the block set for him, that's also fine. Yui is on the HP set and Teo is on the half attack and half crit rate set. So in this case, with a crit pack, I'm going to buff my Teo's crit rate a little higher. Okay, these bosses and these enemies do very heavy single target damage, so that's why we're using Lee. And more importantly, Lee is also gonna taunt and have physical damage immunity, so all their single target attacks will be neutral in that case, will not touch any of our other heroes, and we won't have such a horrible time panicking and trying to heal ourselves. As you can see here, it just all gets eaten up by Lee's immunity. And all you need to do is to focus down on casting Teo skills, and you can even, sustain with Lina if necessary, but I don't think they have any AoEs, especially Raccoon. He pretty much only has 2 buff skills and just basic attacks. Okay, so now in 1240, the idea remains the same. You taunt with Lee, and then you pretty much just go crazy with Teo. The only thing you probably want to do is you may want to buff with Lina to do more damage to the front mobs, or you can save your buff for the next few phases, because usually the first phase is usually pretty easy and you won't take too much damage, especially with Lee here. As you can see, we are completely fine, well, until Lee's taunt wears off, which is only about 2 turns. Okay, so once that wears off, then you can cast Evan's shield and then protect yourself even more. You can even use Lee's HP alteration, to shorten the time, because cutting the enemy's HP down to 35%, I believe, is also going to be very useful for you, so that your Teo will be able to just nuke them much easier. So this is the point I want to make about Lee. Okay, when buffing with Lee and using his immunity, it is ideal to do it after he takes his basic attack. Okay, in this way, his taunt and immunity will last longer, and this gives you more time to cool it down, because buffs kick in when units take their turn on their left side. So if you buff a unit and they are far behind in the turn queue, they actually get more time with the buff, especially with a strong buff like Lee's taunt. Okay, so if you apply his taunt and then he takes his basic attack immediately after, then that's kind of wasting a turn. Okay, so just take note of that. And in fact, if the enemies, as you can see here, doesn't do too much damage to you in this particular phase, then I think it's still alright. You can still sustain with your heals. But moving on into the third phase, that could be a little trickier, because the third phase enemies are definitely stronger. Their basic attack can hit harder, And especially if your Li is only not 6-star and not transcended and not even T2, oh yeah, you do need a T2 Li, forgot to mention, then that could get a little tricky. So yes, upon moving to the next phase, always use Li's Taunt so that you can soak in any of the single target damage that Nami does to you. Nami is the cat and they do quite heavy single target damage, as with the other orcs as well. So I think in this particular phase, you might want to use Li's Taunt as whenever it's possible. But if you want to keep in mind regarding the turn count issue that I mentioned, the turn count advice that I mentioned, it's also possible, but make sure you are able to sustain well with Evan's shield or Lina's heal. So as you can see, this kind of setup, this kind of team, they can really push your adventure to insane amount of turns. But it really doesn't matter as long as you clear it, because in future when you get stronger, you can always come back to this and do it in a much shorter period of time and get your stars. And that's all for 1240. So I hope it helped, and if it did, do give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much and see you.